Hey, thank you for clicking. I want to talk a bit about heritage. I'm Uzi Baram, and there's a photo of me as a young college professor. I'm a social scientist, an anthropologist, and one of the things I've always enjoyed doing was taking a word and really kind of figuring out where it came from, how it's used, and what its implications are. Heritage is an eight-letter word that all of us probably know and might have noticed is increasing in use in our contemporary world. And so in this 5-minute presentation, I want to talk about various definitions and descriptions of heritage, the uses of heritage, and what are the implications of heritage, and make a pitch for my heritage consulting firm, UBHeritage. For 25 years, I was a professor of anthropology, and so I think a lot about how academics do things. And when we think about heritage, there's so many definitions and descriptions. Some think of heritage as a journey, others describe it as a tool, some see it as an interpretation, some focus on heritage as experience, some even see it as making things, as a mode of production. I've published on heritage as social action, and some have even gone as far as say it's liberation work. When I look up heritage, Google tells me that heritage is property, it's inheritance. It's also valuable objects and qualities. There is so many different aspects to it. The United Nations, through UNESCO, has its own definition for heritage. Heritage is our legacy from the past, what we live with today, and what we pass on to future generations. Our cultural and natural heritage are both irreplaceable sources of life and inspiration. That is an amazing concept, a source of life and inspiration. I think about those academic definitions, those popular presentations, and I simplify heritage as being recursive. It's a pathway from the past to the present, and it's also a pathway from the present to the past, right? It's reciprocal. The more interesting question about heritage is not so much its definition, which is multifaceted, it's the question, what does heritage do? I'm trained in archaeology, and so I am really thinking about how heritage gets us through the layers. Some have even said that it's a therapy, that we can recover heritage to expose the social determinants of health. This is that notion of UNESCO of it really is a source of life to overcome trauma and other injustices so we can live full and active, positive lives. Heritage is also really important for community resilience. We're living in a time with lots of storms, some climatic, some political and economic. We find that when communities have a really clear sense of their own history, where they came from, what has happened, and a sense of place, they tend to have better bonds among the people and a more active sense that, yes, we can get through these challenges. And so part of the heritage work is to make sure people have a sense of both history and place, and that provides resilience for the storms that keep on coming at us. It's not just communities, it's also individuals that can get from their past a sense of resilience. As someone who's Jewish, I really enjoy this concept for Hanukkah. Yesterday it was impossible in talking about struggles thousands of years ago. Today you did it. That's the miracle. To see what your ancestors have done, to think about what you are capable of doing is another thing that, another process that heritage does. Continue to think about Jewish heritage, my Jewish heritage. I think about the archaeological aspects of heritage, that the past is fragmented and that we put it together. We gather up those fragments. In Hebrew, it's tikkun olam, the mending, the healing of the world. And heritage very much is about making what is fragmented into something whole for us, our communities, and our world. My early slides showed me as a professor, a young professor. I'm no longer young, but I've also seen a lot of good that comes from heritage work, where people provide great joy in celebrating their past, their people's legacies, where some have learned about how to repair the world, to paint it, to record it, and to represent it for the sake of others. Heritage is personal, it is communal, and it can be for all of us to make our world a better place. I'm Uzi Baram, and heritage matters because the past matters for our future, for inspiration, for joy, for possibilities. I have a cultural heritage consulting firm, UBHeritage LLC, where I bring these concepts of heritage and social action, going through my anthropology and my experience in archaeology to help you increase engagement with our past for the future. Look forward to hearing from you and having you celebrate heritage for our world.